now that we're here, we'll talk about breathing. We'll practice breathing. We breathe naturally, firstly. Secondly, we don't breathe in full deep breaths. Like, we breathe in between 30 and 70% of capacity, depending on how you feel and what you're doing. So it's just kind of ushering in and ushering out. It's kind of like being on a snowy day in the mountains, or the morning after, and you open the door. This is, you guys, some of you have heard this before, and you open up, you just kind of go, and the steam rises out. There's no effort, it's beautiful, you can see it. You can't see your breath here, well, hopefully, but you can feel it. And that's the way that we exhale, and that's also the way that we inhale, very gently. If you were to have your hand in front of your nose and mouth, you would just feel like a little bit of heat coming out. If you feel like a then that's not correct. Okay, that's one. Two is that when we breathe, put one hand on your chest, one on your stomach, or if you can't do that, put one on your stomach and your arm on your chest. Either way, we're good. All right, good. Now, I think Ross and Ivan both know, and Nancy, from this what we're getting at, and that is, I want you to breathe and I want you to feel which hand is moving. I want you to feel not only which hand's moving, but what direction are they moving. So if it's your top hand, is it moving out or up? If it's your bottom hand, is it moving out or up? If it's both, which one's moving more? So most of us breathe and our top hand will move. Here's the thing, when our top hand moves, especially when it moves up, what's actually pulling it up in a sense is with your shoulders like this, right? So like this, right? And I'll kind of get into that in a few minutes of why that builds tension if we have time. But that's one. The second thing, when we breathe a little deeper, the chest expands kind of out like this more as opposed to up. And that has less stress on the shoulders, and it's more relaxing. But we don't even want that. We would like to have this hand almost completely move. When I'm breathing, there's no movement here. Now, don't force that. If you naturally can't do that, it makes you feel weird, then you don't force that. But you want to get towards being able to breathe from your belly. So as you're doing that, I want to explain really quick why. Very mundane, real reason is that when you breathe from your belly, it pulls the air in from a deeper location in your lungs. It therefore fills more alveoli. It fills the air pockets, the alveoli deep in your lungs first, like opens up and fills in, and as the air goes through, it also fills the lungs on top. So you actually have more oxygen coming into your blood with less breathing effort. Right? You've probably all heard that before. That's why I don't want to breathe up here. Secondly is we actually have, some people call it second brain. It's a lot of like almost like a brain tissue. It's not quite as complex, but it has the same chemicals and processes of the brain, and it basically controls our digestion, and it's in our intestinal lining in the stomach. And that also has some association with the stress and relaxation responses. Okay? So when we breathe from here and we relax, and we kind of, the chest and all this kind of relax, number one, the muscles that hold tension relax. Number two, when we breathe and we create tension, body doesn't know whether tension creates the muscle tightness or muscle tightness indicates tension, meaning if you tense your muscles a lot, you will start to induce adrenaline response. It just happens. There was research done with even facial features that guys are trying to figure out what facial features, what muscles do what. And when they're doing angry, sad faces, they actually had really depressed obliques. And when they did happy faces, they were actually really happy. And they kind of found out that even the slight movement of the muscle affected how the brain released chemicals. So this is a lot of muscles we're talking about here. And it holds the stress response. So when we breathe from here, we reduce that, number one. Number two, the digestive brain doesn't need commands from the brain and the head to digest. And think about it, when you have a stress response, the blood leaves the digestive system to go to our muscles, right? So they have communication. So when you have stress response, the brain, subconsciously, not in our control normally, tells the stress response to shut off digestion too. They kind of work together, and then the digestion shuts off. And who tells the digestion to shut off? That's the brain down here. When we relax and breathe and stimulate the digestive brain in this way, it tells the digestive system to work better. And then the digestion works, the immune system is working. and the stress response has to diminish. So we actually have we don't get the beginning saying, don't get stressed. But because you're in a continuous loop and any point you plug in affects the rest of the loop, we have a plug-in to consciously, with our breathing, take control of the stress response. And when that happens, it's a whole build-up of a cascade of positive goodness that kind of accumulates. We can practice more, the energy flows more, oh, that lets us do this more. So I want you to get on that ride.